What's that? A video on Top 10 Gaming that's telling you not to purchase a Sonic game? What is this hypocrisy? Well, friends, let's be perfectly honest here. There's a lot of great Sonic games out there, and then there's ones that are garbage. While Sonic Forces may not be a steaming pile of crap like some of the other games that Sega has pumped out without much regard for fans or the beloved iconic character's reputation, yes, blame them.
Yes, it is true that a lot of Sonic games that have come out of Sega have been pretty bad. Sonic 06 was probably one of them. Sonic Unleashed, not so much. You really have to play the games in order to understand, sweet. There's that thing. And plus, we're not going to blame Sega for doing their jobs. That's illogical and it doesn't make sense. So you might want to think about that a little.
Sonic Forces is without a doubt not the best 3D game in their arsenal. Also, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, we did do a video on the top 10 reasons why you should buy Sonic Forces. And no, I did not buy Sonic Forces. Here's why you shouldn't either.
Then why are you making a top 10 reasons on not to buy the game, woman? This is not rocket science. Great, now we're going to be watching a video on the top 10 reasons why Sonic Forces is garbage by some woman who's never played the game before. This should be interesting.
And at number 10, Sonic Mania.
This is just perfect. She starts a top 10 reasons why you shouldn't play Sonic Forces, with number 10 being Sonic Mania. What? Sonic Mania has nothing to do with Sonic Forces, okay? Except for the very end, when it shows how classic Sonic gets into Sonic Forces. Now, I have to admit that I've never played Sonic Mania before, so take my opinion at whatever value you want, but the thing is that you never start a top 10 on a game with another game. It doesn't make sense.
Let's start off this list by pointing out the obvious. The game that was released prior to Sonic Forces is a significantly better game, and it does the franchise justice. While some critics have called it a glorified fan game, considering the development team behind it was different than the typical Team Sonic that heads most of the Blue Blur's other video game properties, it's proven itself to be a game worthwhile. Described as inherently nostalgic, emulating the original Sonic games exceptionally with controls and game mechanics that were seamless. So, all in all, coming off of the success of a game like that, critics saw Sonic Forces as a major disappointment.
Let's try to give her a reality check here. Sonic Mania was supposed to be a game that was released for Sonic to celebrate their 25th anniversary. Sonic Mania was also supposed to be, like Crash Insane Trilogy, sort of a remaster of the original 3 games. So, yeah, of course it's going to be a different game. So what if it's not like Sonic Forces? In Sonic Forces, there's more of a story, but we're gonna get into that later. Let's just keep watching.
Lacking the polished mechanics that Mania, despite being a very different kind of game, exhibited with ease. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Sounds about right. And at number 9, the story.
You're really gonna go there with me. There's nothing wrong with the story. I already know where this is going. Again, this is gonna be one of those things where she has absolutely no evidence to back up her claim, and even then, I mean, if I were to go on Twitter, or on Facebook, or on Instagram, or just search it up on Reddit or on Google or something like that, I'm going to run into mixed arguments about the game. Some people say that they're going to love the game because of its story. Other people are going to say that they're going to hate it because of the story. The thing is that I'm one of those pro-Sonic Forces people out there that you're trying to convince that the game is a bad game, even though I've already played it twice. Oh yeah, and that's right, I also made a Let's Play on the game, so you might want to work on your logic there.
People were mixed on the story in Sonic Forces. While critics generally panned it, the fans were divided. Some dug it and enjoyed the challenge Sonic faced with Infinite. On the other hand, some felt that it was sloppy, it wasn't very compelling, and that there had been previous storylines in previous Sonic games that were way more memorable. The story tried to take on a more mature tone, but floundered. Up next, number 8, playable characters. Getting into some more nitpicky territory here, another common complaint with the game was the fact that you can't play as any other iconic Sonic characters.
Yeah. It's called Sonic Forces, not Sonic Universe Forces. What drives these kinds of people to think that the game is a bad game because you can only play as Sonic and your custom character and Classic Sonic and Shadow if you play the episode Shadow DLC? It's called Sonic Forces for a reason because you're mainly playing as Sonic. He's supposed to be the main character of the story. The same thing went with Sonic Unleashed, Sonic 06, Sonic Mania, Sonic Colors, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. Pay attention to the name and then you'll better understand why Sonic is primarily the only character you play in many of the Sonic games. The Sonic Riders series is one of the exceptions. And one more thing. I never heard anybody complaining in the previous Sonic games that, oh, you could only play as Sonic. I never heard that. I never heard that. So where is this coming from all of a sudden? Sega comes out with Sonic Forces and then all of a sudden everybody has a big butthurt session because you can still only play as Sonic? It makes no sense.
The game has 3 playable characters: Sonic, or Modern Sonic, Classic Sonic, and the Avatar character.
I wonder how long it took for her to piece that one together.
And as a bonus, you can also play as Shadow in a limited series of levels called Episode Shadow. While the Avatar generally received a positive reception, many fans that were looking forward to playing as Tails, Knuckles, or Amy felt disappointed. The characters make appearances as NPCs, but many fans felt that was still lacking.
Let me give you the rundown, okay, because you've never played the game before. Knuckles is the commanding officer. He's the one that's in charge of the resistance against Eggman. Amy is the one that controls all of the technical stuff, and everybody else is basically a fighter. So, Sonic, Classic Sonic, and your custom character are basically the ones that are making paths for the resistance so that you can take the world back from Eggman. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. They're trying to make the story more dynamic. They're trying to give characters other reasons of being in the series other than just helping Sonic bash Eggman every single time. What the? That doesn't make any sense. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. Anyway, just continue ranting about something that can be deduced logically.
Especially with Classic Sonic being a technical disappointment. But more on that later. And at number 7, poorly written dialogue.
Okay, this one I can kind of agree with. There were several instances in Sonic Forces where the dialogue was a little cheesy, the voice actors could have done a little bit of a better job. One of the primary examples that you're referring to is the final fight that you have with Infinite, which is stage 27 of the game, and at the very beginning, Infinite asks Sonic, what would you like your epitaph to read? How about, here lies the blue buffoon? That is not the poorly written dialogue. The poorly written dialogue is what Sonic says in response to it. He says, how about, here dozes the masked clown? The thing is that the voice is that I do not think that the creators of Sega wanted the dialogue to be that way, but they ended up doing it because Sonic is supposed to be corny. He's supposed to be full of himself. He's supposed to be like that. He's supposed to be making jokes that make absolutely no sense. It's like a stand-up comedian that can't make a joke to save his life. So he just has to resort to making his voice sound funny just to make others laugh. So yes, I can kind of agree with you on this one.
And at number 6, Autopilot. One of the biggest qualms with the game is that the modern Sonic levels lack any sort of challenge.
Okay, now I'm back to disagreeing with you. There are a lot of stages towards the end of the game where it gets increasingly more challenging. The thing about a Sega game, along with a Mario game or a Zelda game or anything else like that, is that it's supposed to get increasingly challenging as you progress through the game. Here is your stumbling block. There are a lot of segments in Sonic Forces where it is challenging. Stage 25 is a primary example. I don't think anyone can blast through that level on their first try playing the game. But apparently you can because you've never played the game before. But here's the thing. There are more stages are stage 30, which is the final boss stage. You also have the one with the multi-legged battle mech. You have to dodge the legs of the mech, and then at the very end, you have to dodge the pieces of Green Hill that come flying at you. Again, you have to play the game in order to understand this.
Number 5, Nintendo Switch. Before the game was released, Sega swore that the quality of Forces was consistent across consoles, specifically for the Nintendo Switch, which runs at 30 frames per second as opposed to the 60 frames per second that the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions run on. Well, guess who was wrong? Yep, Sega. This makes the Switch version run less smoothly than others, and the visuals are...
I cannot even begin to tell you how frustrated I am about this just in general. Not just because of this woman, but because of everyone else. Sega has very rarely clashed with Nintendo. Like in Super Smash Bros. Or the Olympic Games that have them. They very rarely deal with each other. Now, I'm not saying that I am completely against Sonic Forces being on the Nintendo Switch. If that's what Sega wants to do, then by all means, they can do that. But at the same time, Sega was not originally a Nintendo game. Nintendo didn't create them. Sonic is Sega's model characters, such as Mario is Nintendo's model character. So, I'm sort of on the fence about this one. Let's just say that.
And number 4, the level design. Speaking of inconsistencies, the level design in Forces is inconsistent as well. While visually stunning and accompanied by a stellar soundtrack, the level design itself is quite loud.
Okay, so I have noticed some things in this vein in regards to level design. I've noticed that they periodically use the same level design for multiple stages. You go through Sunset Heights more than once. Of course, the beginning looks different, but in the end, it all looks the same because then you go through familiar stages in familiar places in the game, in the level, excuse me. And that exact same place is used in the DLC episode Shadow. Another one is also Aqua Road. That one is used twice, once in the main story and the other in episode Shadow. That's I can understand. I can kind of understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, visually stunning. Going back to what I just said, graphics don't really matter, but if it looks gorgeous, it looks gorgeous. But graphics should not determine how a level plays. How a level plays should determine how a level plays. The overall physics of a game determines how a game plays. I agree with that. But here's where we have to draw the line. Physics developed for this game for experimental purposes. They're working with an experimental system, an experimental driver. They want to put this experimental driver into Sonic Forces so that when they go to create future games, they can work out all the kinks and inconsistencies, and therefore making the gameplay in general smoother. That's basically what they did with Sonic Insane Trilogy, when they changed the collision outline of Crash so that you really have to be a perfect jumper in order to get onto a lot of the platforms. Now here's another thing. Some games are supposed to be sped through. I mean, just take a look at the Metal Sonic. Just take a look at the Metal Sonic fight in the game. That's just one of them, but that's a boss fight. You also have a lot of the classic Sonic ones where the levels are a little more lengthy, where you have multiple roads to choose from to get to the goal. It's always been like that. It's the same thing goes with the modern Sonic stages. Is that modern Sonic stages always have multiple ways to get to the goal. And if you can find all the secrets and find all the red star coins, that only makes it that much more challenging. You don't have to speed through every single level. Here's the problem. If you watched a playthrough, or if you just read some of the reviews online, you would probably see that a lot of people were complaining about level design because they were like, the levels were too short because you got through them too fast. And while in some stages that was acceptable, in other stages it's like, no, there are multiple ways to get to the goal. They put these different routes into the game for you to explore. They want you to be open to the game, not focus on the main road and stick with it. So that's another reason why you have to play the game.
And number 3, short levels. Speaking of the game as a whole, it's pretty easy to fly through it, considering all the levels are fairly short. There's 30 stages with some bonus levels, but the length combined with the autopilot vibe of the game overall makes it feel lackluster. While there is supposed to be some replayability in terms of mixing things up with your original character avatar and the Wispens, the weapons powered by wisps that you can equip and do different things with, many players felt that even that wasn't enough to make the game worthwhile. The boss battles did manage to step up and impress though, but as some critics noted, they wish there were more of them. Up next, number 2, Classic Sonic.
I'm sorry, I'm trying so hard not to laugh right now. I just said when she was talking about the top 10, about the top 10 reason about Sonic Mania, now she's contradicting herself by talking about Classic Sonic. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, Classic Sonic is in Sonic Forces if you paid attention to Sonic Mania. Pay attention, it plays Sonic Mania all the way through to the end because the end has the key ingredient that you're looking for in this argument, and then play Sonic Forces. You'll thank me in the long run.
And finally, in at number 1, more of the same. One of the biggest critics of the game was that Sonic Forces does nothing to forward the Sonic series. It's no better than Generations or Colors, and considering how Sega has been trying to come up with a solid Sonic 3D game over the last several years, it's, well, as we've said a billion times, disappointing.
Can you really blame Sega for wanting to keep the original chemistry of all their Sonic games? Sonic Forces isn't excluded. Sonic Forces is supposed to be like a lot of the other Sonic games out there. It's supposed to be a lot like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Colors, and all of those other games. I don't understand what the big deal is. You say more of the same, I see them just following their own tradition. So there's that too. Okay, so final thoughts. I honestly think that if a person is going to make a top 10 video on the reasons why the game needs to be thrown in the garbage, they should at least play it first. I know I've said it like 4 or 5 times in this video alone that this woman has not played the game at all. Otherwise, she would have contradicted her own methods, her own ways of thinking before she actually did it on camera. So there's that. Also, I also think that she is part of a large groupthink that's been going around even before Sonic Forces was being developed. All of her comments were basically the same as everyone else's that I've heard of. All of her reasons are reasons that everyone else seems to be giving off. People who are anti-Sonic Forces. So there's also that. So if you're watching this, whoever you are, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, play the game and then make a more logical analysis about the game. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just the Savage, aka the Spectrum Gamer. Like and subscribe if you want to. I'm not going to force you to. And I will see you guys next time, and thank you for watching.